Hey guys, it's me, Sparks, and we're back with another video on F1 2020. We're back with the usual, and it is the final round at Japan, round 12 I believe. And if you've not been living under a rock, you will have noticed last week we managed to win the title with one round to go. So yeah, it's heading into this one. It was a lot more relaxed preparation, and just generally sitting in the lobby, you're usually a bit more tense, but here I was a bit more relaxed, as I've said about 3 times. And yeah, I don't know if I was looking forward to this one. I think going into the quali, I was expecting a bottle. I was really tired, because I was trying to break a really bad sleep schedule at this point. In my eyes, at least, it was quite bad. Compared to other people, it's not bad, but in my eyes, it was. So today, I was quite tired heading into this one, but we'll see how it goes. I also streamed this race on Twitch. PSGL allowed us to stream for once. I don't know if they'll allow us for next season. I think they understand that we all have our own brand and stuff to build up, and they're going to allow us. So if that is going to be allowed for next season, I will stream all my races next season. And it's CRG_Sparks on Twitch. And this is at Monday at 8. It might be moved to Monday at 7, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? So nevertheless, enough of me rambling on. It's a dry quali and it's a wet race, so this will make it interesting. Funnily enough, I was kind of praying it wouldn't be any wet, because if you watched my last highlight video, I changed my brake load cell to like 385s and 395s or whatever, and 80 BRF, and I've not touched the load cell with those new brake settings in the wet, so I was bricking it at this point. I didn't know if I was going to go straight into a wall when I hit the brakes, so I was very nervous, and but nevertheless, I was very relaxed. I don't know if it was the Twitch stream, me being able to chat to people, or just not much in the line here, but I feel like I was driving really well in quali today. It might just be one of those days. But we start our banker and finish it. It was a 25.2, which is a pretty good banker, to be honest. I think my PB banker was like a high .1, so I really take it. And yeah, so on our second run now, we're just flinging it through the S's. Really, this S section is really tricky on these cars. We've got a car on the inside. That was quite distracting, and that didn't help, but that's my dogs, if you can hear them, are going off. At this point, I was contemplating if I should go out. So what the plan would have been was to go out, start a lap, just give it absolutely everything, and see if we would improve. But I don't think we had enough time, and if we weren't to improve, we'd just pit. But yeah, as I said, I don't think we would have had enough time, so I was just sitting in the garage looking at the times. It was a pretty decent qualifying. I have noticed PC around here in ORL were very quick. Most of them were very low, 20, like 25 deads or 24s, but I think this track might be a bit more favoured to PC personally. But I'm sure, as you all know, I don't think it's a nice territory to sit in that argument. But nevertheless, we're starting our final lap. We will really be wanting to look for a very low 25, possibly even a 24 for pole. And yeah, so I was expecting 1 or 2 people to maybe get into the 24s, but we will see. So coming into turn 1, you want to fling it in down to 4th gear, up to 5th to minimise wheel spin through this section. As I said, it is extremely tricky. Hit one of these curbs wrong, and that rear end is not having any of it. Fling it through absolutely amazing speeds you're carrying in these F1 cars. Up through Dunlop. It isn't quite flat because of the dodgy setups we run in these games, but we are 200s up. I think it's a 0.6 first sector. Flat out through Degner 1, Degner 2 here into 3rd gear, up to 4th. Use all of the exit curb, and we're about half 10th up. Coming into this tricky hairpin, it's really tricky in traction, so set up the exit. Go pretty wide, let the camber of the corner hit that exit nicely, and it looks like, I can't really see to the sun, it looks about a 10th up there. So coming up into spoon, this requires full commitment. Down to 6th gear, through this, using a decent amount of exit curb, down to 4th, back up to 5th, and using all the exit curb there. And we're about 800s up, so we've maintained our time. We put the brake bias up to 51 to minimise rear locking into this last chicane. We're on a pretty good middle sector split, purple, which I don't think it's lying, to be honest. Here, just before the 100, slam onto the brakes, down to 3rd gear, clip that inside curb, keep it in 3rd, up to 4th, and down to line. Keep it as tight as possible, and it is going to be a 25.008. pretty good lap. I can't say I'm disappointed with that. I'm not extremely happy, but I'm happy with it. As you can see, we really messed up the last. There was definitely time there for like a definite 24. Pole was there 100%, but it is what it is. Even if we got pole, yeah, it is what it is. We can't complain. A 25.0 is pretty good for the real thing, and I'll take it any day, to be honest. But as you can see, it is a wet race, and this is where I was quite nervous because I've not drove with a load cell or this load cell braking in a wet race, so I didn't really know what to expect. So we're just gonna have to hope for the best, really. So in this formation lap, I think the goal was just to kind of get used to it, and as I keep, you can maybe hear me in the background there telling you that it's my first lap on this new brake setting. So honestly, like I genuinely thought I was going to go into the back of my tyres or something. So yeah, this formation lap is testing grounds at this point. We want to push the limits a bit, but obviously you don't want to drive flat enough formation lap, for God's sake. So yeah, nothing much to add from there. We're about to start the race now. We've got Vass Racer behind us. He's usually quite quick at Japan. We don't know how he is in the wet. Then Thyman, then Euster, title contender, or was title contender. The constructors can still be wrapped up today, as between me and Williams, or me and Gamer and Williams. So here we go, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and away we go. Do we get a decent launch? We do actually get a pretty good first launch, but then Matthias beats us on the second phase, so pretty equal for me and Matthias. We have a look, but he covers off the inside. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to make anything of it. We're just trying to keep our nose clean at this point and get into a rhythm. It's crucial you get into the rhythm in the wet, because if you cannot get into a rhythm and adapt as quick as other people around you, you're going to be left for dead, especially in a grid of this caliber. So really wanting to get used to these conditions, really feel where the grip is, really feel where you can push, and really build this confidence up throughout this first lap. I think it's quite interesting if we just stick here with this on board. It's genuinely, I think we're driving very well so far. Even taking that much speed through the first Egner in the first lap was pretty impressive in my end. So I was pretty happy so far, but we cannot let Matthias pull away too much. We can't let him get too comfortable, because I think as soon as you start gaining a gap in the wet and pulling away, the confidence just goes up and up and up, and it does not help. So we're just going to have to hope that he isn't too quick, but we all know Matthias is extremely quick in raw pace, so it's going to be tricky to stick with him, but we'll do all we can. I think even if we are quicker, it's going to be extremely difficult to pass him, because driving in the wet is, you don't have DRS and you've got more dirt air, so you need to be at least like half a second quicker, I think, maybe even more. But as you hear me, yeah, you need to be very quick to pass and have a very big pace difference. But currently we're in a CRG, or a CRG, I am in CRG. We're in a Alfa Romeo sandwich, so they could play some games with us here, and Matthias could back us up, but I can't see it happening. But yeah, through that stint, pretty much nothing happened, as you'd expect. Matthias did pull a 1.8 second gap, which I think going on to about lap 7 it was 1 second, and then from there on out he just, I don't know if he used more ERS or something, but he was just so quick and I just couldn't keep up. So at this point, Thyman pits and Vass Racer pit the lap before, I think. And my thinking behind this was we'll go 1 lap longer, because usually wets you don't get much of an undercut, and I was like, I didn't want to be too sketchy and puncture range, and my engineer told me if you go on lap 11 you will be pretty close to puncture territory, if not you will be on puncture territory. So I didn't want to lose it all in a puncture, and I was fairly confident I wouldn't get undercut, but at the same time I wasn't. It was just a bit of a gamble. Not everybody practices the wet, and I don't think anybody practices the wet, to be honest. Only a few do. So yeah, we actually had built the gap into Matthias here. I think throughout this race I noticed I was very strong through the first sector. I was pulling Matthias and all that a 10th or 2 max, but in that hairpin, as you see, I lose so much. I just couldn't crack it. So that's definitely one thing to work on. I think wet pace is very important, especially in qualifying. So possibly one weakness I think we'll need to look at for next season, as I think there's been races like Britain, France, where it's been wet, and I've qualified quite low down, but then I've made it back up to about 5th or 3rd place. So imagine if that was a dry quali, that could have been another 2 podiums or maybe even a win. So yeah, I think that is definitely a place we need to gain. But enough of me rambling. We have gained that time we lost to Matthias out of ERS and just pace, but it doesn't matter now. We're all coming into the pits. Me and Matthias coming into the pits on the same lap. I think we both had the same idea. He may as well, as he's got a huge gap. And we take it very cautiously. For some reason, my speedometer, or whatever it is, didn't pop up to tell me what speed I was going, so I think I took it a bit more cautious than I could. But nevertheless, a yellow flag came out, and a safety car, is it a safety car? VSC has came out. At the time I thought it was a safety car, but it is a VSC. So, will this help us in the pits? We're about to see, and I don't think, if you can hear me, that's all fun and games by the way. He got us. I don't know if he like exceeded his delta to get me. Like I don't know if he went like a few seconds in front of his delta just to get me, then slammed in the brakes and slowed down. Because yeah, with a VSC you're usually made to slow down a lot, and it didn't look like it slowed down much. So I don't think it really helped us at all, to be honest. We just got in front of Vast Racer lucky. If we didn't get in front of him, that would have been a bit of a pain, because yeah, I was kind of looking forward to finishing the podium, hopefully, to round off the season. But yeah, now the goal is just to stick with Simon. We need to figure out his pace. We've been behind the Ty's all race. He pulled about a 1.8 second gap in 12 laps, so we know he's quick. So at this point the win's out of contention, but second place is definitely still in it. So we've got to keep our head down. We've got to figure out where Simon's weak and where he's strong. I'm pretty sure Matthias and Simon would have been running pretty similar setups, so I can't imagine there'd be too much difference. I think throughout the race, as I have a huge moment, I think throughout the race I noticed that I was quicker than Simon in the first as well, and Vast Race I was quicker than the first. I think the first, it was either setup or just driving style. I was just a lot more comfortable there, but it was the hairpin and spin I was losing a bit of time, and the chicane, so it was all traction zones I was losing it. So another thing to be worked on. But we come to lap 22, end of 22, onto 23, and Simon's actually pulled a 1.8 second gap. So this was the point, I think this was the lap where I thought, right, we're going to push this lap, we're going to try and get fastest lap. I think it's this lap at least. So we really want to pull it. I think before this lap the gap was about 1 second and it just rocketed up, so I don't know if he pushed a lot as well. And it wasn't popping up on my screen when he was getting fastest lap and stuff, which is quite frustrating. So I didn't even know he had it at this point because I was so focused in the race. But yeah, we just need to keep our head down. And as I said, this is hopefully going to be the fastest lap if we can put it together. So as you can see through Degner, this was sketchy. Doesn't look it, but it was pretty touch and go there. And at this point in the race I was really finding my confidence. We've already pulled the gap to I think, was it 1.7, 1.8? So we've already pulled it about half a second. This hairpin, will we lose any time? Yeah, we do lose a little bit of time. So just the same, this corner as well, in the dry it is easy flat, but in these wet conditions I was struggling at least. I saw Matthias took a really tight line in it, but I have to take a wide line to stick with it. So again, I don't know if it's set up or driving, but it is what it is. We continue with the lap though, and we've actually pulled a very big gap to Vassar, so we pulled in Simon. I think this is just because we've been pushing as hard as we can. We're 3/10 up. I think the fastest lap at this point was a 0.2, so we're definitely close to it. We take this chicane very nicely. Simon got a pretty poor run there, and we've pretty much closed more than a second to Simon, so this push lap has really benefited, and it's not the fastest lap. I think we're at least a 10th off it maybe, so that's a bit of a shame, and yeah, nothing we can really do about that. But then yeah, lap 26 now, the gaps went back up to 1.1. As you can see in the bottom right, a yellow light came on, and that is telling us that our tyres are 60%. I also noticed during this race that a lot of people were,
pit a lap earlier and got away with it.
if you might hear me saying we could have pit a lap earlier and got away with it, I feel like, I don't know, again, I've said this about 4 million times, excuse me, I don't know if we feel like the tyres, like I was just better than the tyres, or the setup was better than the tyres, because a lot of people were in the 70s at this point, and I was in I was in 60% at this point. So I don't know if I'm just slow or the tyres were just, yeah, I don't know if it was the setup. But I also noticed at this point, I watched Simon's stream back because I was curious. I went to the end of his stream, and at this point in the race he was quite low in ERS compared to us, which would have been helpful if I knew at the time, but yeah, sadly not. So now we're just focusing on trying to get a move done fine, possibly. It is quite unlikely, but never say never. We've got 50% ERS that we're going to be able to use through these big straights. Through Degner, we're really pushing. We've got one morning, so we can afford to get one more, but it's not ideal if we do get one, but it's not the end of the world, of course. I think at this point Vassaracer actually has a puncture. As you can see, the gap is going down, and that's just cementing what I said, that I think her tyre wear is better. Even though he pit 2 laps earlier, I can't see him having like 13% more tyre wear than us, which is, yeah, it's interesting. But back to me and Thyman, we're going through a spin here. He goes very wide and has a bit of a moment there, so this has really opened us up. We're going to slam onto the throttle, up into rich mix, onto overtake, really using the full power of the car. Or we're going to be able to make a move. It is 130R, so we are going to have to lift right behind them. This 130R corner has really compromised us. We look to the inside, go back to the left, then goes to the right. Will we be able to make the switch back? It's going to be extremely tricky, and it does not look like we're going to be able to make the move stick. But nevertheless, we've come across the line, and it's going to be 3rd place for Japan. And yeah, so for a pretty boring race, we've managed to stretch the highlights out quite long. So sorry if you're extremely bored at this point. As you see, an absolute crash happened, including Gamer, Ash and Domi, I believe. Yeah, that was interesting. They all crashed at the final corner, so what a way to end in the final season. Or final race and final lap. As Daryl does donuts celebrating the last race. So yeah, sorry if you are very bored at this point. Most of you, I'd imagine, have clicked off at this point. Probably got a few people watching me. The race wasn't very boring, but I tried to make it as entertaining as possible. My voice is quite sore, surprisingly, for such a boring race. This definitely goes along with one of the boringest races alongside Britain, I would say. But yeah, thank you to all watch. I think before we go, we should say a big thanks to Big C, Connor, Kryptonite for their work this season. Without them, none of this would have been possible. I also want to mention that me and Gamer did wrap up the title, the Constructors title. So that's the World Drivers and Constructors for me, and then for Gamer we got the Constructors. So yeah, me and Gamer sealed it. I think Gamer has been quite unlucky this season. I don't think his placing, I think he's like 9th in the standings or something, which I don't think reflect on where he is. He missed 2 races and he's just his usual bad luck. So next season I'm sure we'll be teammates again and we'll go for it again, and we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we should also, or I should also say thanks to everyone who helps practice with me, including, so you've got Gamer, Jordan, Kryptonite, Will G, all the lads. I don't know if I forgot anyone. There's another Jordan, 2 Jordans. I might have forgot somebody. Blizzard, the one who comes on an hour before the race. And yeah, if I've missed anybody, I'm very sorry. It's hard to think of it on the spot. But thank you to everyone who has helped this season go ahead. Everyone who's practiced with me, and I'm sure we'll have another great season next season. So enough of me. You're probably fed up with my voice at this point. We're about 19 minutes in, so I'll shut up and let you get on with your day. If you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications if you want to see when I upload. But nevertheless, I'll see you guys in the next one. There will be a season highlights coming out soon, but I won't see you properly until the end of March roughly for another race on F1 2020. So as I said, do all those things if you have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.